So for those of you that have been curious what the kits of the Venatic and the Nimbus look like coming out of the box, that's kind of what we're going to be showing you today. We're going to be going through first looks, and then we're also going to be comparing these two saddles, as well as setting them up out of the box, which is going to be a general guideline for any saddle on the market. So let's get started. For first looks, we're going to start with the Venatic. I'll set the Nimbus right here. We're going to open up the Venatic and we're going to get this out of the box. Initially, the only thing that will come in a box like these is going to be the saddle itself. The first thing you're probably going to notice when you get the saddle out of the box is the material itself. This is a ripstop material, meaning if you're walking through some briars, some multiflora rose, or anything that's likely to catch your saddle walking through it, if the thorn catches, it's not going to tear a gaping gash down the entire material. It's sectioned out piece by piece with this ripstop material, so it may pop a hole, but it's not going to cause any type of like major failure to the body of this saddle. And when we're looking at the frame of the Venatic, the biggest thing you're going to notice on the interior of it are these two big bands. We have a big band on top and a big band on the bottom. That's essentially creating a double panel saddle with a single panel body. Another thing when we're looking at these bands is the material on the top as well. This material helps keep the shirts tucked in or any type of clothing that you might have tucked into your saddle. It'll help it from riding up, so it's not very slick, but it's not like a sandpaper feel to it either. It's just a nice little grip on top of here. If we move to the outside of the saddle, you're going to see 3 rows of molly. The top and the bottom molly are your standard nylon webbing, and then we've got another row just below the top row that is just a rigid rubber material, meaning that it doesn't really lose its form, and it's sometimes easier to get things in out of this molly. It's really handy for when you're looking at this back tab and you're going into basically a walk mode. You can drop this back tab up on the side of it, so then it lifts up the rest of the saddle off your rear end while you're walking through the woods. This is an all USA made saddle, including the buckles, which are Raptor one-way buckles, meaning if you have that buckle flipped upside down and tried to insert it, it wouldn't work, so you have to have it going the right way for safety reasons. And lastly, the weight of this saddle comes in at 20 ounces, and that's the base weight. That's with no bridge, no ropes, no carabiners, nothing like that. So your base weight is 20 ounces. If you're just ordering the saddle itself, it does come with the Amsteel rope and a carabiner for attachment, so it's an open bridge. But if you're curious what comes with the kit, you'll also be receiving 2 Tech Core 8mm ropes, the carabiners to go with each of them, as well as 1 Venatic pouch. Now that we've kind of covered the Venatic saddle, let's kind of take a quick first impression look at the Nimbus. Again, just out of the box, the saddle is the only thing that will be inside of there. And the first thing we're going to see here is some contour stitching on some different type of material. This is a 2-way stretch material, giving you a little bit of more room and comfort inside while you're sitting inside of it. And the contour stitching still gives you plenty of support while in the tree for all-day sits. Again, as we look at the back side of the saddle, you're going to only see 1 row of molly up above. But if we move actually to the side of the Nimbus saddle, you'll see another row of molly running vertical, which gives you some different variations of attachment methods that you could use for any type of molly attachments. On the inside, you're not going to see those big bands like we did on the Venatic. So it's just the contour stitching that you're going to see on the inside. This saddle has basically the minimalist in mind, or those that are looking to just feel their way into saddle hunting. Basically is just a much more streamlined version, simpler, less bells and whistles, and comes in at 21 ounces just for the body alone. So, and if you're talking about the kit here, again, this will come with a bridge, an Amsteel bridge to be specific. It will also come with 2 11mm ropes and the carabiners as well. And then finally, it comes with 2 single-hand operation dump pouches. Now let me get these saddles all set up and then we'll get to a quick comparison of the two. All right, coming back to the Venatic saddle, the main body of this is going to actually be a little bit larger than a typical saddle. So it's going to come up a little higher on your back and it's going to come out a little further on your waist depending on the size you get because of that double single panel sort of design to it. So that's going to be one of the main differences right off the bat is the Nimbus is much more minimalistic in style as well because it's shorter, so it's not going to come higher up onto your back. And it's not going to come as far around on your hips either. This actually comes in 3 sizes, a small, medium, and large, whereas the Venatic comes in just medium and large. Another difference between the two of them is your lineman rope attachments, where the Venatic has almost a fold-away style as you're walking through the woods. The Nimbus has a pronounced nylon web loop. So it's still obvious which one should be your lineman's ropes for both of them, but the design is different between them. And obviously, we already kind of talked about the material, but the material between the two, one is made out of ripstop material, the other is a 2-way stretch fabric. If you wanted to talk about semantics, coloration's obviously a little bit different. And the other thing we've mentioned before is the Venatic has got 3 rows of molle, whereas there's 1 main horizontal row of molle on the Nimbus, with a vertical row on the Nimbus as well. The major difference you could probably say here is the price point between the two of them. The Venatic saddle, with all of its bells and whistles, is going to come in at a higher price point, whereas the Nimbus saddle is meant to get you out there hunting. So it's going to come in at a lower price point, easier for you to get into hunting out of a saddle and trying it out for yourself. As a last note in comparing these two saddles, a streamlined saddle like the Nimbus may take you a little bit longer to find the most comfortable position that it offers, meaning you may have to adjust your tethered height more or the pitch of your bridge on the bridge loops. Whereas a saddle like the Venatic, that's a little more robust in size compared to the Nimbus and offers more bells and whistles, it's quite possible you'll find comfort faster without the fiddle factor of adjusting your bridge height or the pitch of your bridge loops. And with that said, let's move along to setting up these saddles to be hunt ready. So setting up any saddle out of the box, first thing that's going to happen is attaching your bridge, if it doesn't come pre-attached. The big thing that we want to recognize when we are setting up our bridge, if it has an adjustable friction hitch like ours come with, is that we want the friction hitch to be, when attached, our weak hand. That basically the hand you do not shoot with. That friction hitch needs to be on the side of the hand you do not shoot with. Step number 1 is to girth hitch your bridge to 1 loop. And for me, being right-handed, it's going to be girth hitched on my right hip. So the right side is now girth hitched, and now we're going to take our carabiner that comes with the bridge, run it through the 2 eyes that come with the Amsteel friction hitch. After the carabiner is attached, you can then take it over to your left hip and then attach that to the bridge loop. And the main reason why we are keeping the friction hitch on our non-dominant hand side is basically for when you rotate your hips. When you're trying to shoot directly behind you and you rotate your hips, we don't want this friction hitch to come into contact with the carabiner that's on your tether. So by keeping it on our non-dominant hand side, anytime we rotate our hips to shoot behind us, it eliminates all possibility of it coming into contact and maybe sliding this around a little bit on you. So now that we have our bridge attached, we're going to go ahead and attach our hip pocket, also known as our dump pouch. And some people like to put this in the middle of their back, their left side, their right side. It really doesn't matter which side you put it on. It's all about preference. But a slight tip here I will say is you want to try and feed your dump pouch attachment method from the top down. That actually locks any of these dump pouches or accessories in much better, and it actually raises it up just a little bit too. So there's less flop when it comes to movement and walking around. So for me, I like to have it on my left side. That's just my preferred preference. It's pushed in down from the top, locked on through the bottom. And now we can put our ropes on. And there's not really much to do with the ropes. They should come with a press knot already attached. If you don't like the length of the press knot and you want it tighter, you can put 1 more loop into it. Loop that through 1 more time, which is all about preference again. And this will be my tether. So the tether is going to go in the bottom of my dump pouch because I'm not going to need that until I get to hunting height. And then now I can attach my lineman's belt. And again, with my pouch being on my left side, I'm going to affix my lineman's belt to my left side so that it's always easy to pack away when I need it to. So we're going to girth hitch that on, just similar to what we did with our bridge. Make sure you get the girth hitch all the way set down really nice. And once that is done, you can stow that away, pull your string tight, and you're ready to go there. If we're going to talk specifics of the Venatic, the belt on the Venatic also offers a little tab over here that some call it a bridge garage, and you can just tuck that into there so your bridge doesn't flop about while you're walking. And finally, the last piece of the Venatic that I've already mentioned, if you're going to walk through the woods, we have a tab on the back side that you can tuck into the rigid molly so it stays up off the back of your hind end. And that's basically how you set up the Venatic saddle. Now, the Nimbus is going to be set up in almost an identical fashion. And if we're talking about other saddles on the market, as well as the ones that we offer, the main differences are just going to be where your pouches are going to be placed, what ropes are going to come with it. Are you going to have multiple pouches? And in this case, the Nimbus does have multiple pouches in the kit. So we have 2 of these single hand operation dump pouches, am steel bridge, as well as the other ropes. So first things first, again, we are going to attach our am steel bridge. Again, making sure that our friction hitch is on the non-dominant hand side or the non-shooting hand side. So again, for me, being a right-handed shooter, I'm going to girth hitch on my right hip, and I'm going to make sure that the friction hitch is on my left hip. If I was a left-handed shooter, I would girth hitch on the left hip, and I would put the friction hitch on the right hip. Once that is complete, you can tighten up the friction hitch if you want to, if you're wearing it while putting it all together. And then we're going to rotate the saddle around on us a little bit so that we can get our dump pouches on. And for the Nimbus, I'm going to actually put one on the left and one on the right. Just like the Venatic, we're going to feed our dump pouch attachments from the top down. Once that is complete, we can then look at how we want to attach our ropes. As mentioned earlier, one of the big differences between the Venatic kit and the Nimbus kit is the ropes. And the 11mm ropes are a little bit more bulky than the 8mm ropes that come with the Venatic kit. And that's the reason also why we offer 2 pouches with the Nimbus kit, so that you can have one pouch be specifically for your tether and one pouch to be specifically for your lineman's rope. Both ropes that come with the kit are identical, so you can choose which one you want to be your tether or your lineman's rope. And again, with the lineman's rope, I'm going to girth hitch it on the lineman's loop on my left side, and then I'm also going to store it away in the pouch on my left side. And now that the bridge is attached, your dump pouches are attached, and your rope's stored away, it's good to go. All right, that's pretty much it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. The differences between the Venatic saddle kit and the Nimbus saddle kit. Maybe it'll give you an idea of which direction you want to go when you go to purchase a saddle. The material differences, the design differences, and then setting up a saddle out of the box, whether that be these specifically, which we covered, or the general guidelines for those that aren't these saddles. So I hope you all have a great day. Thank you for watching. If you have any more questions, feel free to drop comments below and we'll try to get to them as soon as possible, or reach out to us on any of our social media platforms at Trophyline, or even the website, trophyline.com, and you can hit us up with our customer service there as well. So again, thank you. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you on the next one.